The moment Naomi St. Clair stepped out of the boutique, time seemed to pause. She wore a black silk gown that clung like it was sewn from shadows. Her heels tapped against the sidewalk like a ticking clock. The paparazzi, who had been waiting for hours, swarmed instantly. Flashes burst. Questions flew. Naomi, is it true about the Paris deal? Naomi. Over here. Who are you wearing tonight? But her eyes were somewhere else, fixed on the patrol car pulling up slowly. No fear. No confusion. Only focus. Officer Darren Cole exited the cruiser with the caution of a man who'd seen too much. He wasn't a rookie. 11 years on the force. 2 citations for bravery. But nothing prepared him for the presence she carried. Not just beauty, power. Naomi St. Clair, he asked. She nodded once. Yes, officer. I need you to come with me. You're under arrest for obstruction of justice and possession of classified federal property. Gasps from the crowd. Murmurs. Laughter. Someone yelled, "This is a PR stunt." Naomi extended her hands, calm as still water. You don't need the cuffs, Officer Cole. I'll come quietly. But protocol was protocol. He clicked the cuffs around her wrists, gently, almost awkwardly. In the squad car, silence settled like dust. Darren glanced at her through the rearview mirror. You know, you're not acting like someone who's about to spend a long time in a cell. Naomi leaned forward just enough for her eyes to meet his. That depends, she said. On whether your station wants to stay standing after tonight. 6 hours earlier. Downtown Los Angeles. A penthouse with a view of everything, and trust in nothing. Naomi St. Clair stood barefoot in front of her floor-to-ceiling window, holding a glass of red wine she hadn't touched. Her phone buzzed on the marble counter for the 3rd time in 5 minutes. Blocked caller. She let it ring. Her assistant, Kaya, sat on the couch, nervous. You don't have to go through with this. You could just hand it all to the press. Naomi turned, calm as always. And they'll bury it. They're bought. But the police? Naomi gave a half-smile, dark and knowing. Corruption eats itself eventually. I'm just speeding up the digestion. She walked to her desk and opened a drawer. Inside, wrapped in black velvet, was the envelope, thick with names, data drives, and 2 years' worth of secrets collected in silence. She used her beauty like smoke, a distraction. But beneath the glamour was a mind trained to notice patterns, behavior, weak spots in armor. Most didn't know, before she was a model, Naomi had spent 4 years in military intelligence. Classified work. She'd walked away. But the work had a way of finding her again. 2 months ago, her cousin, a teacher, was arrested for a crime he didn't commit. He died in custody. Suicide, they said. She didn't believe it. And she didn't forget. The deeper she dug, the more rot she found. Officers trafficking in protection, blackmail rings run under the LAPD's nose, or with its help. And money. So much money. Tonight's the night, she told Kaya. They take me in. I hand it off. Then we watch what kind of city we really live in. Kaya looked like she wanted to cry. And if they kill you? Naomi's voice was low. Steel wrapped in velvet. Then they make me a martyr. And martyrs never go out of style. Cut back to present day. Police station. 10:34 p.m. A monitor in the tech room began glitching. One of the officers leaned in, frowning. The surveillance footage of Naomi's arrest. Gone. In its place, a black screen. And a voice, filtered and cold. You're not just dealing with a model. You're dealing with a movement. 6 hours before the arrest. Penthouse suite, 42nd floor, downtown LA. The sun bled orange into the steel horizon, streaking the city in firelight. Naomi stood barefoot in front of a 10-meter window, the glass cool beneath her fingertips. She could see everything, the glowing freeways, the mirrored towers, the cranes that never stopped building. But what she saw beneath it all, the rot, the hidden hands, the rigged game, was invisible to the people below. Behind her, soft jazz played on vinyl. Kaya sat curled on a white leather couch, a laptop on her knees, nerves visible in every breath. "You don't have to do this, you know." "Yes," Naomi said, her voice low. "I do." On the table, a glass of untouched wine. A velvet pouch. A manila folder stamped, confidential, eyes only. Kaya closed the laptop. "You're not a cop. You're not a spy anymore. You're the most photographed woman in the world. Do you even know what they'll do to you if this goes sideways?" Naomi turned slowly. "Yes. And I've accepted it." Naomi St. Clair was a name the world worshipped. The cover of every fashion magazine, the darling of Cannes, the face of justice charities and billion-dollar brands. But that wasn't her real name. Not the one she'd earned in another life. Before she was a model, Naomi had spent 4 years in military intelligence under a different identity. Stationed overseas. Trained in behavioral analysis, cryptography, infiltration. She was top 2% in her class, but burned out after losing a partner in an operation the world was never told about. She vanished. Reinvented herself through the one thing she knew would give her power without suspicion: beauty. People underestimated beautiful women. Naomi counted on that. The folder on the table bore a single name: Malik J. Rivers. Naomi opened it gently. School photos. A death certificate. A falsified confession. Police logs riddled with redacted lines. Malik was her cousin. A public school teacher in South Central. He mentored kids the system had already given up on. One day, he got involved in the wrong case, a student who'd witnessed something during a routine traffic stop. The next week, Malik was arrested for interfering with a federal investigation. He never came home. Official report: suicide. Reality: bruises that didn't match the timeline, a camera that malfunctioned, and no answers. "They want silence," Naomi whispered, staring at the photo. "I'm going to give them noise." Kaya poured whiskey and drank it like water. "You've got dirt on them. That's good. That's enough." "No," Naomi said. "It's not enough to have it. You have to control how it comes out." She walked to her desk and opened a secret compartment. Out came a black USB stick with the words, "Revelation," engraved. "This contains every transfer, every file, every dirty officer, judge, and consultant tied into the LAPD corruption ring. 2 years of work." Kaya stared, wide-eyed. "How?" Naomi smiled faintly. "Beauty opens doors. Intelligence tells you which ones to walk through." She explained the next steps. Step 1, appear in public. Trigger an arrest. Create an event. Step 2, leak the data at the precise moment the world is watching. Step 3, watch the system collapse from inside. Kaya's voice cracked. "If they kill you, what then?" Naomi didn't hesitate. "Then I become a martyr. And martyrs live longer than queens." Naomi changed into a custom black silk dress, tight, clean lines, dangerous. She looked like someone who ruled empires, not runways. Kaya hugged her at the door, trembling. "You're not coming back here, are you?" "Not this version of me," Naomi said. "She'll die tonight. The real me walks out of that station." As Naomi got into the car, she left Kaya with a second envelope. "If I don't call by midnight, leak this manually. Straight to every journalist in the country. No press embargoes. Full firestorm." "Got it," Kaya said, her voice shaking. The door shut. The engine purred. And Naomi St. Clair, supermodel, soldier, shadow, vanished into the LA night. The black vehicle pulled up to Maison d'Or, a high-end boutique on Melrose, just before 9 p.m. The paparazzi were already there. Exactly as planned. Naomi stepped out into a wave of cameras. Smiled. Let the chaos begin. She held the purse in her hand. The envelope and flash drive inside were surrounded by a silver case lined with shielding tech. No scanners could see what was inside. A block away, an unmarked cruiser rolled forward. Officer Darren Cole was inside, reading her name off the dispatch report. He had no idea the arrest he was about to make would change his life, and his badge, forever. As Darren stepped from the car, Naomi turned to meet him like a queen greeting a guest. Naomi St. Clair. Yes, officer. You're under arrest. I know, she said, calmly holding out her wrists. Don't worry. I won't resist. The cuffs clicked around her skin like bracelets. The crowd went wild. Cameras flashed. Headlines were written in real time. Naomi didn't flinch. Didn't speak. But in her mind, she counted down the seconds. 3, 2, 1. Back at her penthouse, a timed script triggered. Emails were sent. Files were decrypted. The war had begun. LAPD headquarters, interrogation room. Naomi sat in silence. The room buzzed behind the mirrored glass, officers watching her, whispering, arguing. Lieutenant Briggs slammed open the door. You think you can walk in here and blackmail the department? No, Naomi replied, cool as ice. I came to disinfect it. He threw the envelope on the table. Where did you get this? She met his stare. You mean, which of your friends gave it to me? Don't worry. I'm not naming names. Yet. Briggs left the room, raging. Moments later, an anonymous email hit every major news outlet in California. Subject line, the St. Clair Files. Inside, names, wire transfers, murder cover-ups, proof of a long-standing criminal web inside LAPD. The leak went nuclear. Social media exploded. Protesters gathered. Internal Affairs was swarmed. And Naomi? She sat in the same chair, quiet, smiling. LAPD headquarters, 9:38 p.m. The walls of the interrogation room were gray, cold, and silent. Naomi sat still. Back straight. Eyes calm. The overhead light buzzed, flickering once like a nervous tick. She didn't look up. She'd been here before, not in this station, not in this body, but in rooms just like it. In Kabul. In Prague. In Langley. Same table. Same stench of fear. The mirror in front of her was two-way glass. She knew they were watching. She also knew who was sweating. Not her, behind the glass, shouting. Lieutenant Briggs paced like a dog in a cage. A half-dozen officers crowded around a desk, rereading the contents of the envelope Naomi had handed over. There's no way this is real. It's encrypted with federal protocols. Where the hell did she get this? It has dates going back 3 years. Briggs looked like he wanted to punch a wall. Why would she give us this? What the hell is her endgame? Officer Darren Cole leaned in. Maybe she's not the criminal here. Maybe she's the witness. Briggs snapped. She's a threat. Don't let her fool you. Pretty face, dirty hands. But his voice cracked on dirty. Because his name was in that envelope too. Back in the room, Naomi moved for the first time in 10 minutes. She reached into her coat pocket, slow, deliberate, and placed a lipstick tube on the table. Cole, watching behind the glass, frowned. What is she doing? Click. She twisted the base of the lipstick. In the tech office upstairs, every surveillance screen glitched, all at once. The feed from the interrogation room turned black. Then, white text appeared. "You are compromised." The room fell silent. Another message. "Your corruption is not just local. It is systemic. Nationwide. Global." Briggs barked into his radio. "Get that footage back, now." But it was too late. All across the internet, anonymous accounts began dropping links. Twitter. Reddit. Telegram. Newsrooms. Hashtag St. Clair Files. Each link led to data dumps. Secret bank accounts. Evidence of planted drugs and weapons. Case files marked, closed, reopened with proof of cover-ups. Recordings of internal meetings. Payments from a corporate defense contractor to LAPD officials. By 10:15 p.m., LAPD's servers were under siege. By 10:18 p.m., CNN broke the story. Then BBC. Then Reuters. The public thought they were watching a celebrity scandal. Instead, they were watching a government implosion. In the interrogation room, Naomi leaned forward as the door opened. Darren Cole walked in. No cuffs. No guns. Just questions in his eyes. "You planned all of this," he said quietly. "The arrest. The leak. Everything." Naomi tilted her head. "No. I didn't plan everything. I just gave the truth a microphone. You were the one who pressed record. He didn't know what to say. "Why now?" he finally asked. "You could have walked away." She looked down for the first time. "Because walking away doesn't bring people back. Doesn't save the next Malik. Doesn't fix anything. It just makes me a coward with a front row seat to collapse." Darren stared at her, and saw someone else behind the model. An operator. A strategist. A woman who'd already counted the cost. "They're going to come after you," he said. "Not just the department. The feds. The corporations. Everyone." Naomi gave a slow smile. "Let them." Outside the precinct, a crowd had gathered. Protesters held signs. Reporters screamed questions into microphones. Drones buzzed overhead. Inside, chaos reigned. Officers on the leaked list were suspended on the spot. Briggs tried to order his team to hold her. But internal affairs cut him off. "You're no longer in command, Lieutenant. Hand over your badge." He hesitated, and Darren Cole stepped between him and Naomi. "You heard them." Briggs looked at Darren like a man betrayed. But Darren only stared back like a man who'd just opened his eyes. Naomi was escorted out, not in cuffs this time, but surrounded by federal officers. The air outside was electric. People screamed her name. Some cheered. Some jeered. Kaya stood at the edge of the crowd. Naomi saw her, locked eyes, gave a tiny nod. It was done. Phase 1, complete. But Naomi knew. This was only the first flame. Midnight, Internal Affairs briefing room. Officer Darren Cole watched footage of Naomi's arrest. Again. And again. Something felt off. Not just what she'd said, but how she'd known exactly what would happen, when to be arrested, even which cop would be sent. "She planned this," he muttered. "Every second of it." Across town, Lieutenant Briggs' home was raided by federal agents. 3 other officers on the leaked list were arrested at gunpoint. LAPD was falling apart from the inside. And the city? Boiling. 10:45 p.m. LAPD headquarters, command center. It was no longer a station. It was a war room. The data leak Naomi had triggered didn't just pull skeletons from closets, it ripped the walls off the house. The command center was flooded with noise. Phones ringing non-stop. Lawyers on hold. News helicopters circling like vultures. Officers yelling over each other. The IT team shouting, "We've lost server control." Screens flickered with news coverage. On CNN, top LAPD officers implicated in multi-year conspiracy. On Twitter, Naomi St. Clair's face next to a caption. "The model who modeled justice." Lieutenant Briggs paced with blood in his eyes, rage barely restrained. "Cut the feed. Shut it down. Lock everything." But no one listened. Not anymore. Briggs wasn't in charge, he was evidence now. 11:02 p.m. Internal Affairs Conference Room. 6 senior officials were arrested in less than an hour. 4 tried to walk. 1 pulled a gun. 1 broke down sobbing in the elevator. Each name in Naomi's dossier was matched to real-world crimes. And each crime was publicly exposed now. A 14-year-old boy shot in a raid gone wrong. A whistleblower who disappeared. Cash flowing in from a private military contractor named Zeratech, masked as consulting. Every brick was falling. And it was only the beginning. Officer Darren Cole stood at the window of the 7th-floor hallway, hands trembling. He stared at the chaos below. The protesters. The lights. The world changing in real time. His name wasn't in the file. But his silence had been. "You knew something was wrong," he whispered to himself. "You just didn't want to believe it." He remembered a case from a year ago. A kid arrested for gang ties, but something didn't add up. The report had been altered. He filed a complaint. It vanished. He let it go. Now that same kid's story was part of Naomi's files. Guilt crashed over him like a wave. He wasn't clean. He was just less dirty. 4.4, Briggs' last move. 11:28 p.m. Lieutenant Briggs' office. Briggs locked the door behind him. Pulled a burner phone from his drawer. Dialed a number with shaking fingers. "She went nuclear," he growled. "You told me she was just leverage. This was never part of the plan." A cold voice on the line replied. "She wasn't supposed to make it to the station alive." Silence. Briggs swallowed. "What now?" "Now we cut loose ends. Starting with her." The call ended. Briggs opened his desk drawer. Inside, a pistol and a single USB marked Zeratech. He knew what that meant. Insurance, or a death sentence. 11:46 p.m. Naomi's penthouse, darkened. Kaya sat alone, knees pulled to her chest, watching everything unravel on 5 screens at once. Naomi was now a national headline. People were comparing her to Snowden. Others were calling for her to be arrested as a cyber-terrorist. Hashtags were splitting like atoms, hashtag St. Clair Files, hashtag Naomi Leaks, hashtag Justice by Model. Kaya's phone buzzed. An encrypted message from Naomi. "Zeratech will respond. Leave LA. You know what to do." N. Tears welled up, but Kaya stood. She opened the cabinet behind Naomi's bookcase. Inside, a go bag, documents, satellite phone, encrypted drives. Naomi had planned for everything. "God, I hope you're still alive," she thought, stepping into the elevator. Midnight. Federal safe house, undisclosed location. Naomi sat in silence, wrapped in a thermal blanket, sipping hot water. The room was stark, fluorescent, and quiet, the calm after the missile strike. Across from her sat U.S. Attorney Alan McCall, mid-50s, sharp, unreadable. "You've destroyed one of the biggest police departments in the country," he said. "And you might have implicated federal bodies in the process." Naomi looked up, eyes unflinching. Not might have. I did. He raised an eyebrow. Why now? Because I've seen what happens when you wait, she replied. The longer you delay surgery, the worse the rot. McCall slid a file across the table. You have enemies now. Real ones. Zaratek. Briggs. Whoever paid them. This won't stop. Naomi smiled faintly. Good. Neither will I. 1:17 a.m. Zaratek HQ, classified location. A conference room of shadowy men and women sat around a digital map. Naomi St. Clair's face filled the central screen. She cracked the LAPD link. She has access to the East Coast files, one said. She's becoming a symbol, another growled. Symbols inspire people. We can't afford that. One man stood. Gray suit. Gloves. No name. Initiate black file protocol. All assets. Burn it down. Back at the safe house, Naomi finally let herself close her eyes. Just for a moment. Just to breathe. The walls around her held the silence of a moment before a storm. And somewhere in the city, something darker was already moving. Someone wanted Naomi gone. It came in the form of a man dressed as a janitor, walking calmly into the precinct at 3:17 a.m. In his cart, cleaning supplies, gloves, and a silenced pistol. But Naomi wasn't in her cell anymore. Internal Affairs had transferred her off-site, fearing exactly this. The janitor never made it out. 2:14 a.m. LAPD headquarters, lower level. The man moved like he belonged. He wore standard janitorial gray. His badge read L. Johnson. His cart rolled steadily past sleeping officers, humming vending machines, flickering fluorescent lights. He passed the desk sergeant with a nod. No one blinked. Inside the cart, under the cleaning supplies. Suppressed Glock 19. One syringe of fast-acting neurotoxin. An earpiece connected to a scrambled feed. A tiny black box that blinked red every 8 seconds. The target was Naomi St. Clair. The orders: eliminate. Make it look like suicide, medical failure, or vanish her completely. He entered the holding corridor. Room 3C, the voice whispered through his earpiece. 2 guards. Expect no resistance. He opened the door. The room was empty. Elsewhere, miles away, Naomi sat in a windowless federal transport van. A female agent offered her water. Naomi ignored it. She stared straight ahead. We moved her out hours ago, Agent Ferris whispered into her calm, we intercepted chatter. Someone sent a cleaner. Zaratek? The driver asked. Definitely. Back at LAPD HQ, alarms finally went off. The janitor didn't run. He simply looked up into the camera, removed his cap, and gave a slow smile, as if to say, next time. Then he pulled the black box from the cart, and detonated the signal. It wasn't a bomb. It was a digital virus. Instant blackout. Every LAPD internal file, camera feed, and hard drive, wiped or scrambled. Decades of evidence, gone. Officer Darren Cole had been sitting in the break room when the lights flickered, then died. Then came the screaming. He ran toward the holding level just in time to see the stranger calmly walking toward the stairwell. Hey! You, stop! The man didn't even turn. Just vanished down the stairs like smoke. Darren chased him down 2 flights before realizing something terrifying. There was no footage of this man. No ID. No trace. No real name. It wasn't just an intruder. It was a ghost. Back in the van, Naomi was already moving. They sent a cleaner, she said. How close did he get? Too close, Ferris said. We need to move again. Naomi opened her purse. Inside, instead of makeup, tools. A small GPS jammer. A burner phone. A flash drive labeled Eyes Only, Level 7. We don't run, she said. We counter. Ferris looked confused. You mean fight back? Against Zeratek? That's suicide. No, Naomi said, her voice razor sharp. Suicide is trusting them not to try again. Back in HQ, a digital forensics expert rebooted a scrambled backup from the attack virus. Only one file survived, a single, encrypted image. It showed the assassin. Face uncovered. A name auto-tagged by facial AI. Kellen Rhodes. Ex-Special Ops. Declared dead in Afghanistan, 2017. But he was alive. And working for Zeratek. Darren Cole stared at the screen. So this is the new game. It's not a game, the tech said. It's a cleansing. 3:21 a.m. Undisclosed location. Naomi sat alone in a secure room, laptop open. A live connection to Kaya buzzed on screen. Kaya looked pale, breath shallow. You're not going to believe this, she said. I dug into Zeratek like you asked. She forwarded a document. Naomi's face changed as she read it. Oh my God, she whispered. The document was a contract. A project greenlit by multiple government agencies. Years old. Classified. Named Project Morrigan. Objective. Public perception control through targeted discrediting, psychological destabilization, and removal of disruptive influencers. Target Alpha. Naomi St. Clair. Naomi closed the file. They've been tracking me for years. Waiting for me to step out of line. And now I finally did. She stood. Walked to the window. Lights glowed in the distance. The world was still asleep. No more hiding, she said. If they're going to hunt me, I hunt back. She opened her encrypted laptop and activated a private channel. Code Black. Activate Node 6. Pull the Raven. Somewhere in another city, a secure phone lit up. It was time to call in the other players. Naomi sat in a black SUV, now under federal protection. Across from her sat a U.S. attorney named McCall. We've gone through the files. It's damning, he said. But you went off book. You hacked federal servers. That's jail time. Naomi leaned back, unbothered. You want to make me the villain because I embarrassed the system. But you know what I did. She pulled out a second drive. I saved the system from itself. And this. She slid it to him. Is part 2. Inside that drive, files exposing not just local police, but state-level judges, politicians, and a private corporation funding the corruption. It was never just the LAPD. It was an entire network. McCall paled. If I give this to the public, the system implodes. Or rebuilds, Naomi said softly. 4:04 a.m. Location, deep underground Federal Archive Vault, Washington, D.C. The lights flickered on one by one, revealing walls of secured black drives, information buried by bureaucracy and protected by laws written in shadows. U.S. Attorney Alan McCall unlocked a single glass case marked Level 7, Civil Risk, National Tier. Inside, the full file on Project Morrigan. He opened it with shaking hands. Budget, $3.2 billion. Sponsors, DHS, private contractors, one unnamed special office. Purpose, preemptively destabilize or discredit individuals deemed culturally or politically too influential. Legal status, non-existent. He flipped to the targets list. Naomi St. Clair wasn't the only one. There were 41 names. Activists. Whistleblowers. Scientists. Journalists. Even a bishop. And next to some names. Status, neutralized. 7 a.m. Naomi stood in a private studio hidden beneath an abandoned train station in East LA, dust hung in the air like ghosts. Cables ran along the floor like veins. In front of her, a black camera. Behind it, Kaya and two members of her new protection team, ex-NSA analyst Celine Vega, and former MI6 hacker Camden Ross. Ready? Celine asked. Naomi nodded. Go live. The screen went dark. Then lit up globally. Naomi's face appeared on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Discord, international news streams, simultaneously. The signal had been piggybacked through 5 satellite channels. Naomi's voice, calm and direct. My name is Naomi St. Clair. You know me as a model, an activist. But you don't know what I uncovered. A government-backed project called Morrigan is operating in the shadows. Its mission is simple: eliminate threats to the perception of power. They infiltrate media. They rewrite truth. And when that isn't enough, they erase people. I was one of those people. They failed. But others are still at risk. And I have their names. She held up a list, then slid it into view. You can't kill a story once it's been read by millions. So read it. And share it. And wake up. Then the stream ended. Within 90 seconds, the video had 4.1 million live viewers. 80 million reposts. Full translations in 18 languages. Immediate denial by 3 government agencies. But something shifted. The world didn't look away this time. Protests erupted in London, Rio, Tokyo, Chicago. Hashtags began trending worldwide, hashtag Project Morrigan, hashtag Where41, hashtag Naomi knows. Even prominent figures started reposting it, senators, celebrities, whistleblowers who'd once been afraid. Naomi had taken a classified Black Ops program, and turned it into common knowledge. 9:21 a.m. Zeratech HQ, Underground Strategic Command Room. 7 men and women sat at a circular table. On the screen, Naomi's face. Again and again. The director of operations, a sharp-eyed woman known only as Calder, turned to her team. We underestimated her reach. And her psychology. A general growled. So what now? Arrest her. We tried that. We tried a cleaner. She turned it into a broadcast. They all looked at the man at the far end, gray-haired, polished, eyes like razors. He was Chairman Dorian Vance, silent majority shareholder of Zeratech. She's declared war, he said softly. We respond in kind. He slid a folder across the table. On the cover. Subject designation, Larkspur. Subheading. Counter Naomi Protocol. Noon, Naomi's hideout. Naomi stood at a wall covered in photos, maps, financial flows, and newspaper clippings. Strings ran between them like veins. Celine finished decrypting another drive. You were right. Morrigan's root server isn't American. Where is it? Naomi asked. Geneva. Hosted by a shell company owned by Zeratech's European partner, ATX Global. Naomi's face tightened. They're not running this alone. They're just one limb. This is bigger than corporate. This is international strategy. A hydra. Camden leaned over. You thinking what I'm thinking? Naomi nodded. Time to go dark. We take the fight off the grid. We hit the source. Back in London, in a dark apartment lit by monitors and candles, a woman poured coffee and stared at the live stream of Naomi's face. She hadn't seen her in 8 years. They called her the Raven, real name, Marion Chase, former MI6 deep asset, and Naomi's only failed recruit. Now she stood, pulled a sealed case from her closet, and opened it. Inside, a black tactical suit, 2 silenced pistols, and a folded letter with Naomi's handwriting. If you're reading this, the war I told you about has begun. Marion smiled. Then I guess I'm late to the party. She picked up the phone. Code Black confirmed. I'm in. Naomi looked over a digital map of global Zeratech sites. Her voice low, focused. We've exposed them. But exposure isn't destruction. We dismantle them piece by piece, financial, technological, political. And we protect the others. The 41. Camden looked over at her. You realize what you're doing, right? You're going from truth-teller to terrorist in their eyes. Naomi stared back, unblinking. Good. Then they'll finally be afraid of the right woman. 1 week later. Washington, D.C. Naomi stood in a glass elevator in a government building with no name. She had been offered a deal. Join a federal investigative unit, McCall had said. Help us take the rest of them down. From the inside. She didn't answer immediately. She was never impulsive. Now, as she looked out over the city, she thought of Malik. Of Kaya. Of every woman who had been silenced, shamed, or sacrificed for someone else's protection. She turned to McCall. I'll do it. On one condition. What's that? I pick my own team. And I don't follow your rules. I write new ones. 3 months later, undisclosed location. A small office. Dark walls. 6 agents. All hand-picked. All recruited from the shadows. Naomi stood at the front, a screen behind her showing maps, names, targets. She wore no makeup. No designer clothes. Just black. You all know why you're here, she said. You've seen what they hide. Now we find it. And burn it. This wasn't modeling. This wasn't justice. This was war. And Naomi St. Clair had become its general. She walked past a newsstand. A new magazine cover, Naomi St. Clair, From Runway to Reckoning. Tourists whispered. Paparazzi still tried. But she was no longer theirs. She didn't belong to the public anymore. She belonged to the truth. And she was just getting started.